on the, or not livecast, postcast on the Impossible Creatures Replays channel. In this series, it's going to be me and Bchamp again. Say hello.
Hello.
And we're going to cover the BlackTiger1 versus Kiki series. So this is a best of 3 series they carried out in the actual tournament. So we're now onto the tournament games. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. We're going to do all 3 games one after the other and see how they go. So we'll get straight into the first map. So is this the first round of the tournament that these guys are playing in now, or is this?
No, this is actually the second round of the tournament.
This is the second round, right? Okay. So obviously we're not really doing them in complete order. We're sort of picking out some highlight games and going through them and trying to give you all an insight into what's happening in each game.
We'll try to do all of the games if we can, though, and maybe try to get a bracket up there once the tournament's completed. We're still in the middle of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, so... Right, Kiki always likes to choose orange, and BlackTiger1 is in the bottom left. So I think we touched on this before in one of the other commentaries, but one of the things we like to see players do is take this sort of southeast side of the map quite early on. I feel like it offers a lot of offensive pressure as well as having a lot of the resource advantage, I guess, over this top side. But we'll sort of see how this game plays out. Both players, I think, go for quite similar builds. Yeah, hench and an early, well, one rod, not an early rod, I guess. What do you make of it, Brandon?
Yeah, I think this is pretty standard. I was about to ask, so what do you usually do in terms of build order on Devil's Island?
So Devil's Island isn't really a map I play too often, but I'd be inclined to go with probably my normal build. As I think I touched on in the last commentaries, I default to my same standard build order near enough all the time, which is 2 rods off the break near enough, and kind of gets level 2 about 2 minutes 40, 2 minutes 30, I think.
It looks like BlackTiger here's he goes straight for the gen first.
Yeah, so he's got the 1 rod and then a gen, which is kind of a weird thing to do. You don't see that too often in IC. Normally most people get the rods before they go for gens. BlackTiger1 really cranks out the electricity. He's got that first rod and then he gets obviously his base gen, the close gen. He's already pushing for a second gen. Whereas on the side of Kiki, he hasn't got any gens yet. Although I think this is him playing for this gen right now. So gens
and you see BlackTiger, is he going level 2 now?
You know, I didn't check. No, not yet. I think they do next. I think that's the next click.
2 gens before level 2. 2 gens and 2 rods before level 2.
2 gens, 2 rods, and it looks like a 3rd gen will be incoming shortly for him. So Devil's Island is a map that has a lot of guys in close proximity to people's bases. It's also quite a small map. So you really see people push for these generators and try and get a tech advantage quite early on. Which, as we saw in a couple of matches before, it can often sort of mess with people's minds. People like to tech before they're ready to, I guess, before they've got the coal economy to support it.
So it looks like Kiki's gone for that.
The southeast side, yeah.
Southeast Copal, yeah.
We'll see.
BlackTiger now with 4 generators, rather.
Yes, that's right. He's just taking this one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 on this top left. So BlackTiger heading around to the southeast. So this is what I was talking about. Often you see a lot of action come down this southeast side of the map. I guess it's more choke heavy up here, so it's easier to sort of fence, as we see from BlackTiger1, and sort of cut off and starve most of the map. And we're seeing BlackTiger1 produce some melees. These are cheetah these beetles, which obviously fast and barrier destroy.
Oh yes, those are a favorite of mine also.
Right, so I looked these up the other day, and I think they're about 140 coal. I think they're 139. I think. You can see BlackTiger1 make an early move, or not an early move, I guess a really late level 2 push towards Kiki's base. And you don't like to see an idle lab, but I guess that's because Kiki's just going to level 3. Kiki's response is to produce bowler cheetahs, right?
And so BlackTiger's also making that
forward chamber here, right?
Yeah.
So what this allows BlackTiger to do is to fight on 2 fronts, so he can produce creatures here and sort of force Kiki to have to react to.
You can see from the bottom he's rallied cheetah.
Exactly.
Cheetah
So he can also fight on this front, and because these cheetahs are so quick, he can afford to have a chamber so far away, without really damaging his rush. And you're going to see the power of Barrier Destroy here. These cheetah hercs do just go through buildings very quickly.
His Kiki's henchman not really doing anything, not punching or.
No, his first move is to build an air chamber. So obviously Kiki's just hit level 3, which is the prerequisite to having an air chamber. It looks like Kiki builds these Hornet Scorpions, which are high damage with poison and barrier destroy, so they're pretty good at taking out enemy melee. But that's about it. And with 30 HP, they're very, very paper thin. So you'd imagine that if BlackTiger1 can make some range units here, which he has, these Python Anteaters, these flyers will go down quite quickly. You would imagine, unless Kiki obviously produces some other sort of. So I think.
Yeah, and here, let's look at Kiki's lab. Is he producing henchmen? Because it looks like he's not producing very much coal.
Yes,
so
he is producing henchmen. I imagine the smart thing to do would be to stuff these expansion points, which are obviously safe from being attacked at the moment. But now we're going to see how. I mean, I think there were 4 Hornet Scorpions over by this creature chamber, and
looks like he's attacking onto the bottom left, and
I think these just. Oh no, these are. I thought they were just going for. I thought these were henchmen. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We had a forward chamber. I think he didn't predict offense maybe, and thought that he could disturb the economy of Black Tiger, I guess. And Kiki's also got these giraffe skunks, which are. I've seen these a few times now, and they're pretty cool because they give stink and they're very bulky. But it's kind of counterintuitive to use stink and range at the same time. Typically, you see range of stink and melee, sorry, or stink and or melee and range, sorry.
Yes, yeah.
And you can see that these cheetah hercs are still causing trouble over in Kiki's base, and at this point, there's very little Kiki can do. He's only seems to be able to produce flyers. You'd like to see perhaps a stink unit come out here, but you know that's game. The lab just blew.
Yep.
That was the first game. I'm just gonna quickly flash open the Cheetah Hercules beetles because they're obviously the key player, and then we'll get straight into the second game.
So yeah, really good job on Black Tiger. They're keeping up a lot of pressure onto Kiki.
Right. And obviously, also had all those generators, so was able to manage to. He would have been able to tech up or convert his electricity to coal, to keep up with Kiki teching, I guess. These are the cheetah hercs. I'm not going to spend too long on them, but fast destroy. It's really useful. Decent damage as well, not too expensive, so they're quite effective for rushing at level 2. Anyway, we'll go and get ourselves into the second game. Bear with me a moment whilst my laptop loads, please.
So the second game is also going to be on Devil's Island.
Yeah, interestingly, they played all 3 on the same map, actually, which typically you don't see very often, particularly for player losers. They like to switch up and choose a different map. I think that's the format, isn't it, that the loser gets to choose the next map?
Yes, so Kiki decided to play Devil's Island again.
So you'd imagine that Kiki's got something different planned, or has a counter strategy. Okay, this time we're going to see Kiki in the southwest, in the orange again, and BlackTiger1 in the northeast in the red. Very similar build orders, 4 hench, and Kiki does get another rod actually. Looks like only 1 hench produced before that first rod went down. So you would expect to see perhaps some more early game pressure from Kiki than what we saw last game anyway. Because that looked to be all Black Tiger there.
We'll see if Black Tiger tries to implement the same strategy, or if he decides to change it up being in a different position on the map, or just because he already used the same strategy once against Kiki.
Yeah. I mean,
so it looks
what
like,
do you think about that? Are you
towards...
Go on, you carry on.
Oh yeah, so it looks like he's swimming towards possibly the gens here.
Gens or the expansion, yeah.
He did go early gens last time, so he might be doing the same here. Oh, yep, there's
the first one, yeah. I wonder if BlackTiger1 will come and maybe fence this side again and take this generator.
Yeah.
By doing that, you sort of give you a position to secure this generator and this generator too, which would give him the 4 that he likes to have, or that he went for on last game anyway.
And
Kiki's taking this
coming down.
expansion too.
Oh, yep. So this is an interesting move here by BlackTiger. He's fencing off one of two different routes to his lab. So maybe he's trying to create a tighter choke point that he can defend, or yeah, I'm not really sure what he's going for here.
I mean, he could also have just misclicked and not seen that the choke point extended the whole way. Not everyone's familiar with this map. Although some of the older maps, not everyone, most people play Vacation or Soothing Oasis 1v1s. This typically isn't the most common map for tight games. Looks like Kiki's getting another generator, so that brings up to 2. Will do, and he's successfully built both of them. And Kiki's also going to get the first CC of the game. I don't see any other chambers on the map. And BlackTiger1 brought that henchman back. So BlackTiger chose not to finish this fence, which is an interesting play call. You'd imagine he is trying to force a tight choke point here, which would be easier to defend, as you said. Kiki's actually got 2 generators now. These things are zebra cuttlefish. These things do a lot of damage at level 2 for range units. But the problem with the cuttlefish, they have super low range distance, so the distance they can attack from.
These are also pretty expensive. I think 172 coal and 66 electricity. So
right, okay.
Definitely on the higher end.
Yeah,
of,
for sure. That's on the pricey
2
side. I guess on the flip side, you don't have to have too many of them to have a very high damage output. And it looks like BlackTiger1 is... Oh, I think I talked about these last time when we first viewed the game. These are lemming camels. So they're just normal camels with overpopulation. So overpopulation means that they produce a lot faster. Which is very good for like swarming and overwhelming an opponent. And it looks like he's just trying to keep pressure on this southeast expansion zone, I'll call it. Which is what I talked about, was quite an important facet of the map. Kiki's going to micro this zebra cuttlefish probably back to his own base, but I think he yes, that's right. A few more creature chambers, and these were Soundbeam Towers. Yeah.
Soundbeam Towers being very effective at level 2 again. Although those camels do have high endurance, it's still they have low damage output. Probably won't be able to survive against them.
No, or the Soundbeam Tower was sent to a number to them.
Yes, yeah.
I think these sort of generally, I think overpopulation with most creatures is just to give that swarm ability, as opposed to necessarily increasing that unit's worth in combat. But we're going to see Kiki hit level 3, and these are Bowler Spider Horse. So again, a very high damage ranged unit, but also very expensive. But you should see these bowlers just destroy these camels very, very quickly. If Kiki micros, which looks like he's perhaps trying to now, by focus firing. There we go. I'm also seeing Kiki, I'd imagine, trying to take down this fence so he can try and get hold of this generator, or split his offensive push onto the side of the map. We're also seeing
BlackTiger is just now getting up his second expansion. Definitely much slower than Kiki. So he just got up that workshop.
Yeah, but it's fully staffed already though. Now, something I want to point out again is these gorilla crocodiles are stupidly bulky for level 3, and they're not too expensive. I remember talking about this. They just take such punishment. Another thing I need to point out actually is Kiki brought these henchmen through, and these henchmen came through this gap in the fence, came up this plateau. Kiki's decided to build 3 forward chambers here. So by doing this, he's able to again split his offensive push, so he can send units onto this side, which he is doing. He's also opening up this choke point, and he can also attack from this side, where he's got these forward chambers. So by this, he can keep pressure on BlackTiger's lab, but also keep pressure on his expansion points, which is really important.
And this middle position near the lake is very strong, because you can attack both the expansion points and sneak through the water if you have amphibious units to get directly to his lab as well.
Right. here I think you'll see these crocodile gorillas take a massive punishment. I think when I calculate, they come out as having over 1,000 effective HP, hit points. Now that's the amount of damage.
When you count the hurting, yeah.
Yeah, right. And Kiki's able to just build lots of these. He's really maintaining a good economy with these. Well, that was a fully stuffed expansion, but obviously these henchmen are building chambers.
So BlackTiger's coming down with a force. It looks like he defended that northern attack. And it's coming down. So he has, what are these?
These are cuttlefish lemmings, giant anteater cuttlefish. So cuttlefish being obviously used quite predominantly in this game. And this bull is a bull man of war, which is charged from poison touch, but very little damage. So the main point of these is to sort of close the distance to enemy units and inflict poison. We're also going to see some action going on over here as Kiki makes some air chambers. So we saw Kiki use flyers in the last game. I don't know if he's using the same flyers. We'll shortly see. Also we see some units being produced in the water chambers. These are Raven Great White Sharks, which have a massively high damage output, but are very paper thin. 14 defense does not do them any favours. But when combined with artillery, perhaps, these draft archfish, they can hopefully assist by taking out towers, such as the anti-air and sound beam.
Yeah, and these draft archfish also have a very high melee attack, which means that they're a little bit more... You don't need to micro as heavy.
Oh, right, yeah, that's definitely another argument. Typically you see the argument of don't use melee on ranged units, but that's less of an issue this patch. But yeah, by being competent in melee, it means that melee units don't really counter them too well by just going into melee, which is typically the best action to do against artillery units. But here we're seeing just Kiki attacking on all fronts, and by doing this he's just forcing BlackTiger to be everywhere on the map and try and maintain.
Yeah, when you look at Kiki's map control right now, he's definitely is closing in on BlackTiger and keeps pushing forward those chambers, keeps pushing in creatures. And this is the type of aggression that really wins you a game.
Right, especially in 1v1s. I would imagine we'll shortly see BlackTiger at least go for level 4, or unless that was him just hitting level 4 then. Yes, it was. BlackTiger just hit level 4. So these are Great White Shark skunks. With Stink Cloud. Now, in theory, these could be really good, particularly against these, particularly against Kiki's level 3 units. So the Stink Cloud would obviously nullify the damage of these bola spiders, but also by having frenzy and high endurance combined with high melee, should be okay at taking out these meat shields, the gorilla crocodiles, which obviously do very little damage output. And here we see that closed choke point or open choke point come into play now as Kiki's able to really push units through it whilst having creature chambers up here to sustain more pressure. So in this position, what would you like to see BlackTiger do to...
I'd like to see BlackTiger use some more Stink Cloud. It looks like he's not really taking advantage of that. Oh, there's a little bit up there. But he has the high endurance Stink Cloud, and so I feel like he should use it. And then you can see over here on the right hand side of the map that all these henchmen are now being blocked from really going back and forth between the coal and
that really slows down coal production, right?
And so doing something to get rid of all these meat shields. I think sound beam towers plus stink would be pretty good, since the stink could definitely be used on the left-hand side here to distract, just like they are right now.
This is a really interesting play here. So what he does is stink, so he can reduce the damage that these bola horse can do. Kiki sees that and micros these units away from the stink cloud so that they can still use range attacks. You do see BlackTiger follow up with a second high endurance stink cloud, so ultimately
and then bringing in additional units for frenzy is definitely very good.
Right, especially against these horse bolas, which aren't too particularly powerful in melee.
But again, it was just a numbers game there, and Kiki had better micro, so he was able to win that confrontation.
Right, and we're now seeing Kiki again with more forward chambers here. These water chambers and probably these CCs here perhaps, or maybe even these CCs down here. he's producing these hippo bowler spiders. So we're seeing a lot of high damage, short range, distance range units being used by both players in this game. The bowlers, much like the cuttlefish, have very high damage but very low range. But by having this split front, as well as having so many chambers around Black Tiger's base, he's just able to pump out so many units so quickly.
And throwing all of the sound beam towers right next to the lab.
Right.
Also very big.
So that was the end of the second game. I'm just going to show you a couple of units there again. Particularly the two interesting ones, which in my opinion are the bowler horse and the crocodile muskox. So let's see the bowler horse. That's this. What Kiki was using.
Crocodile gorilla.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry. Yes, of course it is. Yeah. So this bowler horse obviously it's very expensive, but 16 range damage at level 3 is kind of absurd. The stats are very good actually. They're not too bad at all. And then we'll look at the crocodile gorilla, shall we?
Yeah, definitely.
Which is here. No, that's the giraffe, the gorilla. Here we go. Again, these aren't very expensive, but they can take a lot of punishment. And obviously, the immunity that BlackTiger1's Bull Mana Wars couldn't use their poison touch very efficiently against them, or at all, to be honest.
Yeah, this is probably, I mean, the most highest effective hit points for any level 3 unit.
It's towards the higher end. Yes, that's right. Again, there's another plugin for another plug for Kevin's Combiner app, which we will again link in the description of this video. But now moving on, we'll go and have a look at the third and final game of this best of 3 series. So far it is 1 apiece. Kiki has 1 and Black Tiger has 1. So we'll see how this third game pans out.
I think really the key play for that last game was Kiki's just aggression through the middle and being able to build those creature chambers up there.
Right. I also would like to highlight the fact that Black Tiger did not use that stink cloud effectively enough. Most of Kiki's damage output was from those bowler spider horses and ultimately the hippo bowlers. So you would like to see stink being used more often there, particularly when he's got high endurance and high melee on them. So it looks like we're seeing builds the last game. Kiki has Melee Rod, and mostly hench production. I think it's very similar. Yes, that's right, with Black Tiger 1. I would imagine we'll see Black Tiger 1 go for some generators now. Typically, I guess he moves for this one and this one first, but we'll shortly see. It does look to be the case. And Kiki is sending a good henchman, so interesting to see what Kiki does here. Normally Kiki likes to come and expand to this southeast island, which we talk about quite often. Wonder if that will be his first play. I would imagine it probably will be.
So interesting here, Kiki's actually mining the coal without a workshop.
Right, so the reason he does that is obviously this henchman is now full of coal. So since this workshop is built, Kiki can deposit the coal into the workshop, and obviously that's 20 extra coal he wouldn't have had otherwise. Which is much better than saving henchmen, just leaving them idle for no reason. Which is something you see a lot of players do. I know I'm very guilty of it.
Yes, definitely the same.
Black Tiger taking these generators.
So similar play as before, it seems like.
Right.
But Kiki is definitely playing much differently than in their first game.
Looks to be more sending 3-4 henchmen. You would imagine these 3 henchmen are going to come in, take this generator, or perhaps forward chamber. What do you think?
Looks like the trajectory forward chamber,
Right.
which could prove pretty effective early on. Does Black Tiger have any defenses built up?
Nothing.
And
the other thing is that Black Tiger he's prioritized going for a boom, so he's taken 3 generators. He's got an expansion point. He will not have the economy right now to fight off an attack, whereas you would imagine he will be able to.
His chamber that he's making is at that expansion, so it's not close enough to really defend his lab at the moment.
No,
unless
he's going to find it
cheetahs possibly.
It's across quick enough. Yeah, right. Unless he has cheetahs. Now this is really important. What Kiki does here by building a full sound beam, it kind of forces the opponent to kill a sound beam as well as the units, because obviously the sound beam is going to do some damage. Interestingly, Black Tiger can use his henchman to kill the Sunbeam should he choose to, as the henchmen actually don't get attacked by Sunbeam Towers. But again, the Sunbeam Tower is going to come into play.
So saying the same Cheetah Hercules Beetles as we did in the first game. But Kiki is using these Warthog Tarantulas.
That's right. I think we saw him use them in a game against Kevin that I casted, or we casted. Now, this is also interesting what Black Tiger's doing here. He's microing to get leap attack multiple times, but he's also focusing on killing this creature chamber. Now, this is quite smart, because obviously it prevents Kiki being able to get reinforcements. But because of Kiki's economy, he is able to just produce another, build another creature chamber. And these Warthogs Tarantulas are so bulky that they're not dying quickly, so he's not in any rush for reinforcements desperately. He would like to,
especially compared to these much flimsier
right.
Hercules Beetle Cheetahs, which are really made for raiding buildings with that barrier destroy, and he's paying electricity for that barrier destroy. But he has to use it now to fight off units, and his henchmen are quickly going by the wayside.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like Black Tiger only has one expansion, whereas he obviously has it looks to be his lab, this expansion, and the southeast island, or area I should say. So he's sustaining quite a lot of coal. Same cannot be said for Black Tiger, who is still struggling with just this one expansion and nothing at his lab. And no henchmen being produced. Talk of the devil, I guess I've tainted things there, but it looks like this is all she wrote, and you can't see Black Tiger coming back from this.
And so really, it was hard for Black Tiger to come back here just because he was banking on that boom, and he did go for the 3 generators early.
Right.
And so he was not prepared to defend at all against Kiki's attack.
Whereas Kiki was already set up to attack with high coal, low electricity units, which these are. I'll demonstrate shortly.
Personally, that's why I really never go and try to boom early on. I always anticipate a rush, just because if it does happen, then you are really out of luck in most cases if the opponent has better micro than you. Which in my case, most people have better micro than me.
So these units that Kiki was using, so very little electricity to coal ratio, which means that he can sustain these with a low electricity production, or he can have a normal electricity production and still tech up. But Kiki did was he kept very good coal production to flood the Black Tiger's base with these.
And it's definitely good to be aware of what your units are using, because Black Tiger is going for all these generators, but his units weren't especially electricity heavy. And I think it would have served him much better off if he would have been able to go for the workshops instead, and been able to get more coal.
Right. Now, here's something I want to touch on with you. It looked like Black Tiger was doing a very similar strategy in games 1 and 3. He went for an early expansion with a lot of generators, and then he was massing these, or he was going to mass these Cheetah Hercules Beetles, and one would imagine hit Kiki with a late level 2 on the assumption that Kiki was also booming. How do you feel about a player using the same tactic twice? Are you on the opinion of don't change what isn't broken, or are you wanting to be more versatile so the other player can't adapt to your own strategies?
I think it depends on what your strategy is and what other strategies you have in your pocket. If you only have so many, then of course it's much harder to change up strategies, especially in tournament play. You want to make sure that you're doing what you're comfortable with,
and you're optimizing your chances of winning.
Yes, but in this case you're playing, and this is very high level play, 2 extremely experienced players. You want to be able to change up your strategy because you know more likely than not Kiki is going to change up his.
Right.
And definitely trying to mix it up against somebody who's as experienced as that is going to be, I think, more important at higher level play.
Yeah, I agree, and hopefully we'll see a lot of diverse strategies come out over the course of this tournament unfolding. I haven't watched all the games yet. I'm looking forward to doing so. Hopefully we'll have as many casts up as possible so that the viewer at home can also watch as much tournament play as possible, and hopefully that'll give you more insight into more competitive IC.
Yeah, definitely.
So any closing notes?
Well, not really. It's a pretty long video as it is, so we can just close it out here, and hopefully you guys can tune in for the next cast.
Right. Before I forget though, MVP of the match. What do we say?
Oh yes.
It wouldn't be an IC cast without me asking you my co-commentator that question.
Yes, MVP. Well, I think of everything that was used, different creatures were used in every single game, but I just really like the way Kiki used those gorilla crocodiles. I'm not really a big fan personally of having large meat shields, but he used them very effectively, and especially just blocking henchmen, blocking the coal piles, and making sure that he was microing his ranged units away so they could the meat shields could take the punishment while the ranged units did all the damage.
Right.
Kiki did a great job with that.
Right. So for me, I'm gonna say the Polar Spider Horse. I think that had the most damage output in the second game than probably any unit we saw. I know the Warthog Tarantulas obviously were a big part of the third game, and Cheetah Hercules Beetles were a big part of the first game. But I think in terms of innovative units we haven't seen before and what we're likely to see again, I think this has got to be it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I could see a lot of people after watching this video start using that in their armies.
They're really good, and I would advise you, if you haven't tried them, to try them out and see how they work for you. Anyway, I've been Willow. Bchamp has been Bchamp, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. See ya.